Welcome in everybody. My name is Trent Marlow and I want to welcome you to the first ever episode of the Soccer Sox USA podcast and YouTube channel. Okay, we're going to be going over what this U.S. men's national team loss means in episode 1. I want to thank you for joining us. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify. We're going to be doing this as a little side project that I'm going to get going here. Talking about all things U.S. soccer, U.S.A., the Soccer Sox podcast. All right, I want to thank you all for joining us. And look, talking everything U.S. soccer. We want to talk Christian Pulisic. You want to talk MLS. You want to talk USL. You want to talk women's national team. You want to talk, 16-year-olds playing for Dortmund in Europe. We're going to do all of that in these upcoming episodes. But today is obviously going to be immediate reaction to the USA loss in the World Cup versus Belgium. That's how we're starting out for episode number 1. Now, I do believe it's only fair of us to start by talking about Poch, Mauricio Pochettino. Listen, he was brought in halfway through this cycle. Remember that he was not a full cycle coach for the U.S. men's national team heading into the World Cup. The real question is he going to stay with the U.S., okay? Listen, I like Poch. I think that he was a very good coach and was the right hire at the time. He's being paid a lot of money right now. I don't know whether or not he's going to return. That is very much still up in the air. Some people are saying that the U.S. should really want Poch to return. Other people point out to the fact that two World Cup cycles for a head coach does not work that well. So either way, you have to think about it. Is it good for the U.S.? Is it good for Poch? Is Poch going to want to stay? Basically, what I'm saying is there's a lot of questions, okay? So first, let's go over kind of whether or not Poch can stay and what that would kind of take. It would probably take a little bit more money. Poch has to want to stay. Those two things are probably the key. The other is Poch has to not want to go back to club soccer. Right now, there have been reports over the past probably month and a half, even before the World Cup started, of Pochettino being linked to AC Milan as a head coach. Obviously, big-time Italian club. Everyone knows them because Christian Pulisic plays there currently. Don't worry, we're going to get into Pulisic later. But listen, Pochettino, fantastic coach. When it comes down to it, though, he's never been world class. He's not a Carlos Ancelotti, who Brazil have now. And he was, his best years are at Tottenham, I'd say, maybe PSG. Either way, he wasn't necessarily the coach that got teams over the hump, if that makes sense. His biggest accomplishment as a club manager, in my opinion, would be that big Tottenham win in the Champions League not that long ago, that massive comeback. I believe that was around 2018. So my point being, Poch hasn't necessarily been world-class consistently that long. And do we trust him for a whole second cycle when second cycle coaches haven't worked well historically in international football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, as a whole? Not to mention the fact that it definitely hasn't worked well historically for the U.S. Go all the way back to 94 and then into 98. They tried to do that. That didn't work. It didn't work when Bruce Arena came back. It definitely didn't work when Klinsmann tried to go for a second cycle. It didn't work when Greg Berhalter tried to do a second cycle. He got fired. It doesn't work well for the national team. Second cycles don't tend to work well for this national team in the U.S., and they don't tend to work well overall in international football. I know I just named a bunch of American examples, but there's examples all over. You can look at Roberto Martino with Belgium even. If you want to look at that example, they weren't able to do what they thought they should be able to do with him at the helm. And then the real question is, does Poch go to AC Milan? Does he go to the U.S. men's national team? Or does he finally decide that he's going to go somewhere else or just take a sabbatical, take some time off? Either way, I would give the U.S. men's national team around a 22% chance of bringing Pochettino back as the head coach. So not the most likely thing, less than a 25% chance. And I don't see that necessarily being the case. So then the issue becomes who becomes the next coach and what happens there. We're going to talk about all that in another episode. But right now I want to transition over to what players need to be kept as the core of this U.S. team because they're going to have to qualify for a World Cup now. We're going to have to do that in 2026. They're going to have to qualify for a World Cup. So we're going to look at what players should be the core of this U.S. team, what players should kind of be put on the outside of the U.S. men's national team roster now after some poor performances against Belgium. They lost 4-1, and that's inexcusable. So what players need to be put on the outside, what players need to be kept, and what players are question marks for 4 years from now. All right, so we're going to dive into all of this, and we're going to start with the players we want to keep. First up, we have to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Flael Balogun. I'm not going to talk about whether or not you think he should have been on the field because of the red card and who knows what happened there with FIFA, but we're talking about Flo Balogun because he was a big get for this U.S. men's national team as a dual national. There's no question about that. And he could have played for, I believe it was two other countries. He could have played for, I believe, Nigeria and then also England. Obviously, he came up playing in Arsenal's academy. And I think that's part of the reason why he's so crucial to this U.S. team. Ultimately, he wasn't brought up in a U.S. system, and he's the best 9 this U.S. team has had, at least in my lifetime, and probably ever, arguably. So I think he's going to make a big move somewhere else in Europe. He's going to make a move out of the French league, out of Ligue 1. He's going to go somewhere else. And I believe that's probably going to be an English team, probably Premier League team. I've seen him linked to Tottenham. I've seen him linked to some of the recently promoted teams. Maybe he goes to like a Sunderland. Anyway, we will see where Flo Balogun ends up. But I believe that he's going to be an integral part of what the U.S. men's national team needs going forward, and he's going to be their starting 9. Don't worry, we're going to talk about the future and some of the youth players that can come up later on in this episode, but just my reaction overall to this loss and this Belgium 4-1 beatdown that the U.S. just had is that Flo Balogun still needs to be a massive part of this roster, and the loss legitimately had nothing to do with him. The next guy we're going to keep is kind of similar to Flo Balogun, and that is Malik Tillman. Malik Tillman obviously could have chosen between Germany and the U.S. Again, he's another guy who wasn't raised in that American system, but I think he's playing fantastic footy right now, at least for the U.S. he was. I think he was the best U.S. player all tournament. Each game, if you combine them all. And I think that on top of his quality, obviously with the set pieces, we got to see that, but also he could put good balls in the box from corners, crosses, longer set pieces where he's not necessarily shooting. But Malik Tillman has a nice quality about him, and part of that comes from the fact that, let's be honest, every time I watch him, he doesn't look like an American out there. This guy's a German. So again, kind of bringing up this issue, the fact that the guys that were the best for the U.S. and who we need to keep in the squad and be like the centerpieces for us the next 4 years as we get ready for the 2030 World Cup. Hopefully we qualify and then go on to have a successful World Cup there, because I'll be honest, this World Cup 2026, not successful because you lost to Belgium 4-1 in the round of 16. Making the round of 16 for me was the bare minimum. They did the bare minimum, so it wasn't a complete failure, but still it has to be better. So you look at that, Malik Tillman, German-American. He was raised in Germany, played for the German national teams when he was younger, and then chose the U.S. because he was almost there, but not quite good enough for Germany yet. And I think the U.S. really lucked out because I think after this World Cup, Germany would certainly take him. Obviously, they had their struggles as well. And, well, he's an upcoming talent. He's a younger guy, too. Both him and Balogun are younger guys. So we need to remember that age is also a factor here because you can't act like it's not. Currently, Balogun is 25 years old, so he'll be 29 next World Cup, entering his prime, and Tillman is 24 years old, so he'll be 28. Again, those are prime ages. You're still under the age of 30. You'll still be in your prime when it comes to playing soccer. So I think that those two guys are the main two guys that the U.S. needs to keep in this roster and in this system as they go forward. The next person I want to look at is Weston McKennie. Okay, Weston McKennie is obviously an American product now. He did have some playing time in Germany when he was much younger because his dad was stationed overseas there. But he is a jack of all trades. He can play anywhere on the field, and it's really impressive to see. I believe that he is our best creator when it comes to going through the middle. I believe he can play the 8 or the 10, and he can even play center back, outside back when necessary. We've seen that for Juventus, obviously. So having him is going to be key. I think he is, he's had a successful World Cup, I should say. Very successful World Cup. He was not the reason why we lost to Belgium. He was not the reason why we made any mistakes this tournament. He was one of our best players. Him and Tillman, probably the two best American players this whole tournament, in my opinion. And I think that McKennie, again, he's going to be a little bit older now, but I think he is a guy that we definitely keep and continue to build around. He's 27 right now. That makes him 31 by the time the next World Cup comes around. I believe he has one more cycle in him, and as long as he continues to stay fit, stay in shape, I have no issues with keeping him as part of this U.S. men's national team. The next guy is going to be 21-year-old Alex Freeman. Alex Freeman obviously scored a massive goal against Australia for the U.S., but really showed up well defensively. And the nice thing about Freeman is the fact that you have a kind of wide variety of options with him because he can kind of play center back, right-sided center back in a back four. He can play outside back in a back four, right back in a back four. He can also play that wing back position if needed or play as part of that back three. As we saw this World Cup with the U.S., he played right-sided center back in a back three free, and oftentimes even switched to that right back position, depending on how the U.S. played, when they would shift either Adams back, which they didn't do too much. More of the time, it would be Robinson shift back to the back three, and then Freeman to go up. And when Robinson would slide back, Freeman was able to go up and push up the field. And you can see he's not as attacking, obviously, as Sergiño Dest, who we'll talk about in 1 second. But I think Alex Freeman is a must-keep for this U.S. men's national team. 21 years old. He's going to be 25 next World Cup. I think this guy has a chance to be our best defender along with Chris Richards. And I think that's important to talk about. Speaking of Chris Richards, that is the next person on the keep list. He is the best American center back of all time, at least in terms of what he has done for club and arguably for country. 26 years old, 30 for a center back is not that old. He's relatively injury free. I know it's kind of happened every single time the World Cup comes around. He has some injury issues, but he's been really good. He is the best player in Crystal Palace, who are a mid-table, if not better, Premier League team. Therefore, Chris Richards, as long as he stays on this current trajectory, doesn't get hurt, nothing bad happens to him, stays in decent form, he is a lock starter because this U.S. team doesn't have a lot of options at center back. There are a couple guys I think they could go after in terms of youth and dual nationals, and we'll talk about those guys later on in this episode, but Chris Richards must keep. Him and Alex Freeman, I think, are the future of the U.S. defense, just like Balogun, Tillman, and McKennie are probably the future of the midfield and attack. At least in terms of an experience thing, too. They have that experience now, which is also fantastic. And the reason why I'm saying keep those guys is not that they will be starters or that they are must-haves for the roster, but this is a 4-year cycle. You need to qualify for the World Cup. You have to have good not domestic tournaments, but good local tournaments where you play in the CONCACAF, where you play CONMEBOL, Copa America, things like that. You have to have good performances. You have to build towards something. Yeah, it's a 4-year process. The U.S. kind of missed some of that process being a host nation this past World Cup. They didn't have to qualify. Arguably, though, I don't think that mattered. I know some people say it was a detriment. Some people say it was positive for the U.S. Either way, I don't really care what you think. I think that this is my core. It's going to be Balogun, Tillman, McKennie, Freeman, and Richards. All guys that aren't going to be too old. All guys that aren't too injury prone. All guys that showed a lot of fight this World Cup. Those are my core. Those are the guys I build around for the next 4 years. All right. Moving on now, I want to talk about players who might be in the World Cup 2030 kind of cycle or help. The first guy is going to be Sergiño Dest. Listen, I think Sergiño Dest is one of our best players. Also, again, not produced in the U.S. The only issue with Sergiño Dest is that I need to see more from him defensively. He showed up really well. He's 25 years old now. He's going to be 29 next World Cup. He showed up really, really well against all the lower level teams the U.S. played. And then when they played Belgium, his right side, was, pretty much to blame for the first 2 goals they gave up. And a lot of it was Dest not tracking back and not doing it. He doesn't do the dirty work well. It's that simple. I think he wants to play like a winger, but he's not good enough to play winger. Therefore, he plays outside back. Obviously, Pochettino had him as a wing back this World Cup. Part of the reason why he's also a question mark is I don't know if Pochettino leaves and there's a new coach. I don't know where Sergiño Dest fits in. That's also a massive issue there because if he's playing outside back, I think he proved it in 2022, and he proved it again this World Cup. He's not good enough defensively to play outside back in a back 4, and I don't think he's good enough to play as a winger in, say, a 4-3-3 or whatever else formation we could play. If we're still playing with wingbacks, then I'd still consider Dest part of it. Obviously, form matters. He needs to be in good form still. I'd like to see him make a move to another club. I know he did spend time at Barcelona, but if he could leave PSV and find maybe a Bundesliga club that would take him or somewhere where he gets a little bit more competition, domestically, that would be important as well. The next guy I'm looking at is also a big question mark, and it's Captain America himself, the LeBron James of soccer, whatever you want to call him, whatever stupid nickname you get him. Listen, I thought he was horrible this whole tournament. He played 1 good half, and that was against Paraguay. And yeah, I know Paraguay beat Germany, but they went to PKs, and Germany's winger is still good against Paraguay. They just weren't able to score. It was a larger issue with the tactics, in my opinion. But Christian Pulisic, He's going to be older now. He has all these injuries. He got injured this World Cup not once, but twice. He got injured in this Belgium game that they just lost, too. He's 27 years old right now. That makes him 31 next World Cup. And Pulisic's not a 31-year-old that I see being like as fit or as healthy as he was when he was 25, 24, like 23, obviously, when he played last World Cup. I don't see that being a good thing for Pulisic. I honestly, in 4 years, it would not surprise me if he's in the MLS. If he's in the MLS, I don't know that he's injury free. I don't know that he's playing at the highest level. I don't even know that he's the answer. I think his attitude, his mentality has been poor for this U.S. men's national team. And honestly, Pulisic should try to go somewhere else. Not only should he try to go somewhere else, when I say go somewhere else, I'm talking about obviously somewhere away from Milan, because he had a horrible 6 months leading into this tournament, and I feel like that just carried over. So his form was bad, and he wasn't able to fix it for the national team. I don't care what you say about that Paraguay performance. I think that was a one-off. Okay, Pulisic, not good enough. He's supposed to be that star winger for the U.S. I think Dest on the right side was bigger and better for the U.S. all tournament. And Pulisic just didn't get it done for me. He didn't show up in big moments. He literally, I don't think, won a dribble against Belgium, which is just horrible. And you're telling me that a 31-year-old Pulisic who's already injury prone, who already has all these issues, who to me is mentally soft, skipping out on the Gold Cup for rest. He is a cryboy. He is soft. He is not a true U.S. men's national team player. I think about Dempsey getting his nose broken. I think about Donovan running through guys. Little Donovan out there would run a whole lot harder than Pulisic did. I think about Jones and DeMarcus Beasley and some of the older U.S. guys. You go back to Tab Ramos and even Alexi Lalas. I know his punditry is bad, but Pulisic just doesn't show this grit. You know who shows this grit? McKennie shows this grit. Alex Freeman, Chris Richards. They're allowed to have bad games, okay? Don't get me wrong. But Pulisic, he just seems mentally weak to me. And I think that's an issue as he gets older, possibly more injury prone. He seems to be getting slower. The next question mark is also a guy who has some injury issues, Tyler Adams. And that also comes down to the form he's going to be in, his injury status for next World Cup and for the cycle, and whatever a new coach, if they come in, might want to do. I think that Tyler Adams, he's limited in what he can do. He's a great player for what he does do, but he's limited in what he can do. He was not the right player against Belgium. I think there's been a lot of people out there saying that. He did not fit the system well because Belgium was not counterattacking. They were going long. And, well, Adams can't really break lines with his passes. He's not very creative. And I know he's a 6, and you're going to argue most 6s aren't, but he's very limited in his ball progression skills. He's good at keeping possession, and he's good at putting out fires. He's amazing at putting out fires all over the field. He's amazing defensively. He has an amazing work rate. Passing, going forward, breaking down lines is not his strong suit, and that's fine. I mean, he's still, I think, arguably, he's one of the best players, almost at world class. He's pretty close to world class. But Tyler Adams, he's going to be older. He has a bunch of injury issues, almost more so than Pulisic. So that makes me nervous. Again, he's also 27 right now, same as Pulisic, so 31 next World Cup. That worries me as well. Being older, not saying that he's out of his prime, but because of the injuries, being 31 with both Adams and Pulisic and the injuries, that scares me. The next guy that I want to talk about that is a question mark, Anthony Robinson. Anthony Robinson, a question mark because his form at Fulham kind of fell off. So we might see him make a move soon. I don't know. He's also one of the oldest guys kind of on this list for me in terms of the maybe still in the category for the next World Cup cycle. Not that I think that any of these guys aren't going to be in the next World Cup cycle, but I'm talking about at the World Cup 4 years from now. I think they're going to all help us qualify. All these guys I'm naming are going to help us qualify. But Anthony Robinson is 28 years old. Okay, he's had some injury issues. He didn't even know if he was going to be at this World Cup. I think it's fantastic that he's picked the U.S.A. to play for. I think he's been a great left back. I think the U.S. is going to have a hard time finding his replacement. But we have to be honest. He's 28, so he will be 32 next World Cup. He plays like a madman. He runs through brick walls. Anthony Robinson is a good player. He's a fantastic player for the U.S., but I don't know if he is the answer going forward. 32 years old, yeah, he can still get it done. If we're playing with wingbacks, though, it's going to be a lot harder. If he's injured, it's going to be harder. And he didn't show me enough this tournament. He just played okay. I thought in 2022 he was one of the best players on the U.S. roster, if not the best. And I cannot say the same right now. The next guy is going to be Gio Reyna. I have question marks surrounding Gio Reyna. I almost put him in the cut category, but Gio Reyna, if he does make a move, if he goes to a club and finally gets playing time, and I know we've been saying this for like 6 years now, U.S. men's national team fans have been saying this, but if he does make that move and he finally goes somewhere and he finally gets consistent playing time and he finally stays healthy, then maybe he still stays in this squad. And I know the other guys like him, but, like, you got to do something for me, man. He does nothing for 4 years and then gets put on the roster, has an okay game, has an okay game, has an okay game. And, like, you see the promise. And then he'll have 1 or 2 amazing games for the U.S. during qualifying or in a friendly or something. But that doesn't matter. He has yet to show up for the World Cup. He has yet to show up for club. And I don't trust Gio Reyna going forward for the U.S. men's national team. Again, he could prove me wrong, change some answers. Let's get on to our cut guys, okay? The guys I want to cut. Tim Ream. Cut Tim Ream. It's not a question for me. Mainly it's an age factor. I think Tim Ream was fantastic in 2022. I think he was okay this World Cup. I think the U.S. needs better center back development, better center back options. But he's a good passer of the ball. He's super slow. He has bad hips. We knew all of this. He got exposed against Belgium, plain and simple. Did not play well at all. He is way too old. How old is Tim Ream? I think he's 38. Let me check that real quick. Either way, Tim Ream, not good enough. Yes, he is 38 years old. So he's going to be 42. He should be retired by the time the next World Cup starts. If you want to play him for a year and bring a young guy up next to him, I'm okay with that. Bring him in. I do like his ball progression skills. I think that really showed out against some teams like Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Paraguay as well. But overall, I think Tim Ream really this cycle didn't have a whole lot of business being with the national team while playing in MLS. Towards the end of his career, being old, having bad hips, not able to turn quickly, not able to sprint back well, not able to recover. I think there are too many liabilities. I know he's the captain of this team, but he needs to be out of this national team as quickly as possible. The next guy that needs to be out of the national team for me, it really hurts me to say it, is Tim Weah. Again, this is a guy that scored for us in 2022 in the World Cup, a massive goal against Wales. And he plays really well on the wing, and he can play wing back, outside back, winger. He can even play up top as like a false 9 almost and get through the lines and break lines. He played so poorly against Turkey that I can't even see an argument for keeping him in the squad. It was great that he punched a guy and got Greg fired 2 years ago, but still, Tim Weah to me, he's fallen off so much. He's not playing that well for club. He's not producing a lot of goals anymore. I don't think he's that great defensively. So, listen, I know this isn't a guy that really played all that much, but he's 26 years old. He's going to be 30. He's currently played at, obviously started at PSG, but never really got anywhere there. Went to Celtic, then back to Ligue 1, played for Lille, then 2 years with Juventus, which were okay. And now he's probably having his best club form of his career now at Marseille. But even then, he's playing Ligue 1, he's playing mid-table. I just have a hard time seeing him go far. I mean, I go, no, Marseille's maybe a little bit better than mid-table, but still, he doesn't fit the national team right now. If he's going to show up and play the way that he played and act the way that he acted, he thought he should have been a starter this year. That was pretty apparent. There's one guy who was a locker room problem this year. Not that he was a complete problem. It was him, though. So I think that Tim Weah out of here. Next one is obvious, Matt Freese. I think Matt Freese, for obvious reasons, I don't know how you come back from that as a goalkeeper. You just don't. I don't think Matt Freese is coming back from that. He gave up a horrible third goal to Belgium. It's all his fault in a sense. Obviously, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Adams, Dest all kind of got, or Dest was in the field, but all got beat there to let that ball through. Ballistic, I meant to say, to the Dest, excuse me. But I think that Freese, you don't come back from that. Freese is playing in MLS. I think he's already reaching his peak. This is as good as he's going to be. So I don't know how much better he gets, and I don't know if he recovers from this. I think that goalkeeping is, I mean, it was coming into the tournament, is a major issue for this U.S. men's national team. Next, we have Matt Turner. So I'm getting rid of both the top goalkeepers here. I know Matt Turner's like, oh, we should have played Matt Turner. I don't care. Okay, Matt Turner wasn't good enough to win the starting job over Matt Freese. Fair and square. I don't care if you disagree with it. Those are the facts. That's what happened. He wasn't good enough. Matt Turner is 32 years old. We are not going to play a 36-year-old Matt Turner who's no longer playing in Europe next World Cup. I don't care. Playing for the cycle. He's Brad Guzan. Playing for the cycle. Help you get some wins. Help you get some shutouts. Good job, Matt Turner. But there are plenty of other goalkeepers, I think, whether it's Chris Brady, who was brought, whether it's Schulte. And those are just MLS guys. I think there are a lot of teenagers who are coming up. That's going to be a whole nother episode. That's episode number 2. If you guys want to stay tuned. Again, Soccer Sox USA. Next episode that we put out is going to be about the USA goalkeeper situation, because I think this needs to be talked about more. But either way, my main point, Matt Turner, Matt Freese, neither one was good enough for this USA. For the standard that have been set by past goalkeepers, Howard, Friedel, Miola, not good enough, okay? So that was disappointing. So get both of those guys out of this team for me, okay? And then the last guy that I would cut, and this one's a tough one. I think I might get some pushback here. But the last guy I would cut would be Ricardo Pepi. Ricardo Pepi has shown up in big spots for PSV. I know that. For club, he's shown up massively. I think he's going to get a move to Premier League team. He's only 23 years old. Okay, so maybe he proves me wrong. I hope he does. I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm not rooting against him. But the performances that he has had for the national team consistently, every day, game in and game out for this national team, have not been good enough. The only times he's had positive performances have been in friendly games. I haven't even seen him be positive in like a half meaningful game, like a group stage Copa America. I haven't seen anything from him. No, Ricardo Pepi needs to be out of this national team until he either makes a big transfer and is playing in the Premier League, playing in the Bundesliga. Listen, he's at PSV. He's doing well at PSV. 19 goals this season at PSV. Not good enough for the national team, though. He never shows up for them. So I think he's still going to be part of this team. He's still going to be in and around the team. But until he proves otherwise, I think he needs to be out of this roster in 2030. And he has to do a lot of work to prove to me that he deserves to be on this U.S. men's national team going forward. Now, I want to transition over and talk about the future of the U.S. men's national team. Okay. So we just talked about all the players that I think we should build around and the players that maybe we should build around, maybe we shouldn't, maybe shouldn't be in the team. And then the players that I think should be cut or to kind of put on the outside, ostracized from this U.S. men's national team. Now we're going to talk about the players that I think are the future. The players that are going to come in that weren't part of this team previously and are now going to become at least pieces for this U.S. men's national team, or have the chance to do that. Kind of the prospects, the future. Obviously, I don't say that this team needs a whole rebuild, but some things have to change, and some youthful talent is going to help. The first guy is so easy, so obvious. Kevin Sullivan, okay? 16 years old, already signed to Manchester City after, he turns 18 and could leave the country. He's currently playing for the Philadelphia Union. He's building records for them, breaking records. If Freddie Dew wasn't a person, he'd probably have more. And Kevin Sullivan, if the hype is real, the hype is real. Even if it's half real, I think he's going to be better than Pulisic. I think Kevin Sullivan is going to be the teenager that takes Pulisic's spot. That's why I have some question marks around Pulisic. We talked about that. Kevin Sullivan, he looks really, really good at times. Other times, he looks like a 16-year-old playing among men. But he's 16. This kid's going to be 20 at the next World Cup. 20 years old. Even if he's not at his full potential yet at 20 years old, I think if he lives up to half the hype, half of his potential, he's going to be part of this U.S. men's national team. This kid has the makings of a star. The hype is real for some certain reasons. I've watched enough of his games, enough of his film to know that there are reasons why. He plays like a very mature player a lot of the time. He attacks extremely well. He's been the best player on a bad Union team for a while now. I really like what I see from Kevin Sullivan. The next player I want to talk about is, again, there's going to be a decent amount of MLS guys here. And I know you might be some MLS haters, but next player I want to talk about is Adrian Mehdi. Okay, MLS haters, I don't care. These are guys that I think are going to go to Europe soon or could go to Europe soon. Not all of them are going to pan out, but even half of them pan out. The U.S. men's national team is in a much better spot in 4 years from now than they are today, okay? From 4 years from now than they are today. So the next guy's going to be Adrian Mehdi. He's currently playing for the New York Red Bulls. He just turned 17. This season under Michael Bradley, he has just started playing for the first team. He started at 16 years old. He just turned 17. Michael Bradley, new head coach of the New York Red Bulls. He's been playing phenomenally. He is, I think, going to be better than Tyler Adams. He's our next 6. As long as he makes a move to Europe and staves off injuries or any major career setbacks, I think Adrian Mehdi in 4 years' time, 21 years old, could be starting over Tyler Adams. Again, that's why I have some question marks about Adams. Obviously, the injuries are there too. He's also a very different type of 6. He covers a lot of ground, just like Adams does, but he's very possession-based. He's great at progressing the ball. He can get upfield well. Occasionally, he can even get dangerous late runs into the box. I think that this kid is the real deal. You watch him play. He's received praise from all over. He's been looked at by RB Leipzig, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid. Okay, that's all you need to know about this kid. Okay, Tyler Adams, also a 16-year-old playing for the New York Red Bulls at the time, was not linked to Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. Adrian Mehmeti is. This kid's the real deal. The only thing that scares me about Adrian Mehmeti, he's also Albanian. He could go to the Albanian national team. There's a chance. He's been called up into camp, I believe, during this World Cup, because obviously Albania not at the World Cup. I think the U.S. needs to put an emphasis on making sure they lock down dual nationals, and this kid is one of them, and he's going to be key for them going forward. He has the potential to be the greatest U.S. midfielder of all time. He's only 17 years old. Go watch this film. I promise you won't disappoint. Writers over the past 4 months, soccer writers across the country, across the U.S., have been just drooling over this kid, and there's reasons for it. He is the real deal. I love to watch him play. Check out Adrian Mehmeti's film. Next guy I'm talking about, Adrian Mehmeti's teammate, Julian Hall. Julian Zizeki Hall. He wears Zizeki on the back to, honor his mother. He's Polish too, so also a guy we need to make sure we don't get. The Polish Federation has gone after him heavily so far. 18 years old. He's a striker. He's not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, but I think he's had a better MLS season than Ricardo Pepi ever had. And he's going to be better than Pepi. Kind of the same type of prototype where they're not big and strong. But Hall is faster than Pepi was. He scores goals better. He's just a complete number 9 finisher. Hall is fantastic for the New York Red Bulls this season. He's starting over Eric Maximo Choupo-Moting, which is super impressive. Starting over a Champions League caliber player. I know Choupo-Moting is older, but still, he's starting over a Champions League caliber player in MLS. Julian Hall, the future of this U.S. men's national team at the 9, possibly. Obviously, Phil Balogun's still going to be in his prime 4 years from now, but maybe, that's good, healthy competition to have. Who's scoring more goals? Who's in more form? Because this past year between Hadji, right, Pepi, and Balogun, there wasn't much competition. I think Hall brings that. I also think he's going to make a move abroad. The Polish president has met with his mom. The Polish FA president, I should say, has met with his mom. So obviously, that was reported, and that was just a couple weeks before the World Cup. They are heavily recruiting him because Poland, they have a striker issue as well. All of their strikers, like their top 3 strikers in their national team, are over the age of 30. Obviously, Lewandowski is coming to MLS. He's probably going to be close to retiring. Poland has been a national team that's been pretty decent over the past few years. This was the first World Cup in a while I remember them not being a part of. So, Julian Zarzeki Hall, another dual national the U.S. needs to place a lot of attention on. And I think immediately. Like all of these guys that I'm mentioning right now, I believe should be in the next camp for the U.S., whenever that is. I believe it's like end of August. Next camp, all of these guys need to be brought into the U.S. Next guy we're going to talk about is going to be Josh Widener, okay? So Josh Widener is a defensive player. He can play kind of center back, outside back. He's moved from St. Louis City SC from the U.S.A. We've seen this before from U.S.A., kind of like Diego Luna, but he moved abroad. He's now on Benfica, okay? This is a U.S. defender playing on Benfica. You talk about a replacement for Anthony Robinson. Perhaps he's a replacement for Anthony Robinson. Perhaps he's a replacement for Tim Ream. He's kind of a utility player. I don't know whether or not he wants to be center back or left back yet or right back. I believe it's a left side center back would probably be his best position from what I've watched, but he could also be an outside back. Really depends on the system. If we're playing a 3-back still, I think he fits perfectly on the outsides of Richards, him and Freeman. I think that'd be fantastic. He's born in 2003, 21 years old, or 22 years old now. Still, fantastic player. He's still coming up through the ranks. Give him a little bit more time at Benfica. He was definitely not ready for this World Cup, but it's a guy to keep your eye on, a guy that's in Europe, and I would love to see him kind of break through, break out. He's part of the future. Another guy who's been in Europe, not as old, is actually a young guy, and I think he's fantastic. That would be Matthias Albert. And look, he broke a Bundesliga record. He was 16 years old when he made his debut, like youngest 16-year-old to appear for Borussia Dortmund in a long time. I think that he is possibly the real deal. He has a lot of hype around him in Germany, and that's really cool to see. So he's an attacking player too. I believe he could play kind of like a Musiala archetype or prototype, if that makes sense. And I think that he could be part of the future for this U.S. men's national team. That is what needs to happen. You need to bring in players like this. He's 16 years old. I don't care. Just like Kevin Sullivan, he's going to be 20 next World Cup. Bring him into this upcoming camp. See what you have. See what he needs to work on. Figure your stuff out. Another guy, Xavier Gozo. Gozo, to me, he was actually talked about as being brought into this current World Cup. That did not happen, obviously, in MLS circles. He had a breakout season right now. 19-year-old star for Real Salt Lake. No, he's not like Diego Luna. I understand why Diego Luna wasn't part of this U.S. men's national team roster. No, Xavier Gozo is going to go to Europe soon. He's an amazing right winger, right back, or wing back. It doesn't really matter. He, to me, could be Sergiño Dest's replacement. If Sergiño Dest doesn't step up and start playing better defense or start playing for a bigger club or figure out whether or not he wants to be a defender or an attacker, pick one. I think Xavier Gozo is that guy. He gets up and down the wing. This is a guy who was brought up playing the nine, but he was transitioned kind of out of necessity due to injury to that outside wing back, right winger position. And he's done fantastic. I mean, this kid is amazing. He's got speed, tenacity, grit. 19 years old. That makes him 23 next World Cup, entering his prime. Hopefully he goes to Europe soon, if not this year, I believe next year. You see him in Europe. If he does well in Europe, he's part of this U.S. men's national team. This kid's a star in the making. And then the last player I have to talk about is Noah Kai Banks. If you've been on U.S. men's national team Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, TikTok, Instagram, you know who Noah Kai Banks is. He was called into the camps right before the World Cup and actually declined. He is German-American, so again, another dual national here, and you have to make sure you win him. He is a center back for Augsburg, Bundesliga team, and he would complement Chris Richards, so well. He's 21 years old right now. That makes him 25 next World Cup. You have to win him. I think he wants to play for Germany, but he played for the U.S. youth teams coming up. Again, German-American, plays in the Bundesliga. I think he wants to play for Germany, but Germany crashing out this World Cup might have helped the U.S. cases, but now the U.S. losing in the fashion they did to Belgium, I think, kind of hurts. So kind of back to square one when it comes to landing Noah Kai Banks. But if this kid, I don't care what you have to do, drag him on a plane, get him sign some papers, get him in games, you got to prove to him that he's going to be a star in the U.S. and that that's not the case in Germany. I think if you prove that to him, he comes to the U.S., kind of like Malik Tillman situation. And honestly, he's going to complement Chris Richards so well. If we could bring him in, he's probably the closest thing we have to a sure thing on this list right here. And I think that Noah Kai Banks is the future. All of these guys should be called into the next U.S. men's national team camp, in my opinion. All of these guys have a chance at being the next U.S. men's national team star. All of them could be key in this cycle, and especially in the 2030 World Cup. They're only going to get older. They're only going to get better. Everyone has a super high ceiling here. Some of the floors are even pretty low. Like, I'm going to say Noah Kai Banks' floor is pretty low. Like, you need to go get guys like that. And that is what I think about this U.S. men's national team. I want to thank you for joining me for the first ever episode of the Soccer Sox U.S.A. podcast. Again, my name is Trent Marlow. I was your host. Be back next episode. We're going to talk U.S. goalkeeping situation and hopefully also some U.S. manager situation as well. This loss to Belgium was really hurtful to watch. Brutal time to watch the U.S. lose 4-1 in the World Cup against Belgium. Next episode, we talk about what we can do. How do we move on from Matt Freese and Matt Turner? What does Pochettino do? Does there news come out about that by the time we do another episode next week? Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like and subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And, thanks for joining me on what's going to be a nice journey here.